Hello, my name is Claire Alexander, and today I'll be talking about the Perry's theory of intellectual and ethical development and how it not only applies to student affairs, but also many other divisions of a university. The model that this theory falls under is cognitive structural theory, which means it's a model that attempts to describe what cognitive capacities develop over time. The positions that make up this theory are basic duality, multiplicity pre-legitimate, multiplicity legitimate but subordinate, multiplicity coordinate, relativism subordinate, relativism, commitment foreseen, and the last one is evolving commitments. Now I will be talking about who this theory applies to. You can apply this theory to any classroom setting, career counseling, residence hall staff, roommate conflicts, and academic advising, which all falls under student affairs and also other divisions of a university. The first position I will be talking about is basic duality, which means seeing the world in a dichotomous way. I apologize if I mispronounced that. This means seeing the world as good or bad, right or wrong. It's very one-sided. Authority is always correct. I would apply this to residence hall staff. And for the example would be students deliberately breaking the rules. So an example could be a student breaking curfew or say visitation when they knew that that was the rule when they first attended the university. That would be falling under basic duality because the authority would definitely be correct in that situation. The next position is multiplicity pre-legitimate, which means that there are many different answers involved in the situation. Facts might not be aligning and they might not be telling the truth, and authority isn't always correct. So I relate this situation to a scenario where there might be residence hall staff and students involved. An example could be if one student misbehaved and broke the rules and the rest of the students that lived with them in a dorm complex got blamed for their mistake. The next position is multiplicity legitimate but subordinate, which involves knowing there are other answers and not living by that thought. So I'm going to use the same application with residence hall staff and students in the same example about one student making a mistake and the others being blamed for it. So this would be a situation, using this act would mean that you're not listening to what others have to say. If they were innocent, you're not hearing them out. You're still living by what you think is correct in that scenario, which could be punishing everyone to teach the lesson of holding people accountable that live in a dorm together. I now have multiplicity coordinate, which means knowing there are multiple answers and knowing there are multiple ways to view the situation. So I'm going to be applying this to academic advising. For example, an academic advisor having a student come in that may be struggling and knowing that they will have multiple options to give them for whatever they might be struggling with. I now have relativism subordinate, which is very similar to multiplicity coordinate. It means that you're knowing there are multiple answers, knowing there are multiple ways to view the situation, but you're now putting those options into action. So if we're using the same scenario as we did before with academic advising, you would be going over the issues that that student was facing and now letting them receive the options available for them to benefit them in the future and to prevent those problems from happening again. I now have relativism, which means looking at each viewpoint and answer, seeing what makes the most sense, and discovering what the correct answer is. I will be applying this to a classroom setting, and I'll be using student affairs as an example. If there's multiple students that are coming into student affairs complaining about the same situation in a classroom setting, then this would be a situation where student affairs could take over and see what changes needed to be made to prevent students from struggling in the future. The next position is commitment foreseen, which means making a commitment, trusting the opinions of others, and trusting the viewpoints of others. I'll be applying this to career counseling, and I'll be using, again, student affairs as an example. Faculty members in student affairs often helps students in guiding them towards future careers that align with their interests and goals. You must have trust between the faculty member in student affairs and also the student, whether it's coming up with a resume, a cover letter, or being taught basic interview skills that will help them with the future career they choose to apply to. The final position we will be covering today is evolving commitments. And this means revisiting a commitment and making changes when necessary. You could apply this to any roommate conflict. Many times, students make commitments to live with multiple roommates at the beginning of a semester and are expected to stick with that commitment. Though sometimes certain situations happen where repetitive conflicts continue to arise, student affairs could then make the decision to remove that roommate that is faced with the conflicts from the dorm and break the commitment that they had made before. Perry's theory of intellectual and ethical development was very interesting for me to learn about. I felt that this theory could not only be applied to student affairs, but also many other faculty and staff members throughout a university. I believe this theory could be applied to admissions, academic success, or even RAs and RDs of a university. Learning the positions of this theory would help many people understand how to solve situations, grow as a community, and form bonds that will last for a long time. Dr. Hadlock, I want to thank you for listening to my presentation. I enjoyed learning about Perry's theory of intellectual and ethical development, and I hope you enjoyed listening to my presentation. Have a great day.